Good afternoon, everyone, and it's great to have such a power-packed panel here to give us a perspective on all aspects of the budget this time around and its implications for industry. But let me start off with you, because there was, in fact, plenty of chatter around tourism this time. Do you feel the Finance Minister has actually listened to all the feedback, perhaps, that the industry gave her over the last couple of years?
Not really. I mean, they've reiterated that tourism is important, but I think this government is probably more focused on manufacturing right now as a source of employment. I live in hope, so maybe next year.
Okay, all right. Navneet, let me come to you in terms of, the market reaction and the kind of buzz we saw post-budget. Pre-budget, we heard that it was a non-event, but I think the fact that there were no negative surprises and the fact that she did actually give a boost to CAPEX positively surprised the street.
No, I think budget is for the Amrit Kal, next 25 years, so you should not evaluate based on the market reaction over the last couple of days. There are a variety of other variables that impact market. But I think looking at the budget, analyzing it, I will use three words: credible, continuity, and conviction. Credible in terms of budget math, continuity, whether in terms of enhancing the tax to GDP through simplification, digitalization, formalization of the economy, changing the expenditure more tilted towards CAPEX rather than revenue, using the DBT to make the best of the revenue expenditure, particularly subsidies, ease of doing business, ease of living, all of that is like continuity. And conviction, I would say that when the world is going through so many challenges, having a conviction that over the next 25 years, India has a real opportunity of becoming a large, developed $20 trillion economy. An important part of that is not only a size of the economy or the per capita GDP increase, but also can we create an example of becoming one of the most sustainable, equitable, inclusive society. I think that's where I would say the conviction, so full marks.
Kunal, let me come to you and your overall views on the budget this time.
Yeah, I think I'm usually asked about what do startups think about the budget. So I'll, I actually feel whenever I'm asked this question about what is the startups' view on the budget, I always say, look, we have to revisit our assessment of the terminology of startups, because the budget caters to all sectors of the economy, as do startups. So from whether it's infrastructure, financial services, fintech, or education, manufacturing, hospitality, startups transcend all these sectors. So I feel that in this budget, obviously they were conservative, given the market conditions globally, but at the same time, there's enough for growth also across sectors, whether it's agri-tech, manufacturing obviously got a lot of focus. So overall, I would say it was from the startup lens, it was all very positive.
Okay, so talking about growth, let me go back across to Parvesh and get a sense, because it's really your sector that saw the biggest boost. Were you happy with the budget this time around?
I think a lot of positives, a lot of capex allocation, long-term, lot of projects are being shown. But I think the bigger things, which to my mind is, I think the momentum of the last few years has been picked up. More has been added, and I think it actually bodes well for the future years, because I think they're going to add more and more money. So I think we are in a very, very good period as far as the infrastructure is concerned, whether renewables, whether it's rail, whether it's road, whether it's airports. There was a lot of it, and particularly green energy. So a lot about environment has been said. I only have a couple of small, if I have to figure out I have to say something which is not that great. I don't know why they had to touch the InvITs. They touched the InvITs, which I don't know why they had to touch the insurance. And I'm not sure the capex which has been allocated, there is a ready absorption capacity of that much of capex. So actually it's a bit of an over allocation of capex, but the enthusiasm is very nice.
That's an interesting point, and I'll come back to that. But Prashant, I heard you nodding on the piece on insurance. I think the market was wondering that too. Why touch it?
Yeah, it came as a negative surprise to all of us, because we were representing that insurance should have better carve-outs as far as tax is concerned. Over the years, we have seen that the use or usage of ATC has been going down for insurance, and that number has been flat for many years. But 1010D is something which is quite relevant, which means you get all your proceeds tax-free if you have bought a policy which has 10 times the sum assured. This time, there is a cap of up to 5 lakhs on traditional policies. It came in ULIP a couple of years ago for more than 250,000. This time, it was more than 5 lakhs. And that is something which has evoked a negative reaction from the industry, from share market. All the listed stocks are down anywhere between 10 to 15%. While on one side, there's a market reaction, but on the other side, I think insurance as a vehicle is one of the most trusted vehicles as far as savings in India is concerned. And because of our long-term nature, etc., all of us serve a lot to retired customers. So people who are buying, typically buying more than 5 lakhs policies are trying to save for their retirement period. And hence, a recommendation of this kind definitely has a bigger impact, which we are trying to see how to mitigate. At the same time, I think the government intent actually to tax wealthy people is quite well understood. But somebody who is able to afford 5 lakhs may not necessarily be wealthy. I mean, people who are earning more than around 30, 40 lakhs are not really particularly wealthy people. So our view is that that benefit should have continued. If we had to tax, maybe we could tax more than 10 lakhs, not 5 lakhs. Of course, as an industry, we'll represent and see which way it goes, but definitely a negative reaction.
All right. Rahul, coming to you. And I want to get your perspective on the entire angel tax issue, because that's much talked about in the startup ecosystem. There was a sense that perhaps if that could have been eased out, it might have been a little bit more of a fillip to the sector.
No, so the way I look at it, for startups, there are two things which are very important, right? Access to more money, and angels play a very important role in it. And over the last few years, we have talked about how do we get access to more domestic capital. And the second thing which I would also want to expand the question, which is on ESOP taxation at the point of exercise. So I think these two things, remain a recurring ask for last several years. We continue to hope that it will come in the budget hopefully very soon, or maybe as a separate topic, because these are two fundamental things of how do you create value for employees and investors, and how do you attract more and more people coming into the sector. However, I would say that I continue to remain excited about the fact that just few years back, startup was not part of the budget conversation. So the fact that startups are talked about in the budget conversation, the country is continuing to think about how can we have more startups, not just facilitated by the central actions, but also by states encouraging startups to come in, is a positive direction that I would believe.
She definitely did mention the word several times. Kunal, and also talked about, pockets, like you mentioned, fintech, and driving action in those segments in particular. Do you feel that perhaps the startup ecosystem would have wanted more of a fillip, or that just the fact that they're being recognized as such is a good start?
I think we are past the point of, while I agree with Rahul completely, when I started 15 years ago, startup was not even part of the parlance in India, where it was like either you got a job or you maybe started a company. What is this startup thing? But obviously now it's part of national parlance, and the smartest kids out of the best colleges want to start up, and they already start up when they are in college, compared to something which is, it's like something you would irregularly see in the world. I do feel that, while this recognition is great, we are past that point as an ecosystem now. I think we feel abundantly recognized. I think at this point in time, we are now part of the conversation in various industries, right? If agriculture is having a conversation about how to move that industry forward, startups are part of the table, where they are saying, here's how we are using technology to bridge the gap between demand and supply and make things more efficient. Same in financial services, same in manufacturing, so on and so forth.